Reason why we here, of course, is because I made the claim that
Crash Team Racing is fucking perfect!
which is a pretty fucking tall order considering that I've really only played it, Mario Kart DS, a bit of Double Dash, and Lego Racers. And while I am 6'6", thus totally capable of taking the tall, I'm also not a waiter, so I figured I'd be a fair playing boy and properly scope out the genre. Usually, this would entail me playing Diddy Kong Racing, Sonic All-Stars Transformed, and one of the newer Mario Karts, but bruh. Have you seen this fucking channel? The PS1 era of Squaresoft will never not be super interesting to me. Even nostalgia put aside, there's a fair something to appreciate about a creative group of people in their prime having budget, time, and technology align. Almost effortlessly shitting out classic after classic after classic, as well as cult classic after cult classic after cult. To be fair, it is exactly shit like this that makes it interesting to me. The Urgeises, the Toballs, the weird-ass FMV visual novels that never left Japanese shores. Not to mention fucking Racing Lagoon. Games that have retroactively become super intriguing given who worked on them and when. I'm referring to things like Tobal 2 and Urgeises RPG mode using Final Fantasy VII sound font, or Racing Lagoon being written by the Final Fantasy XIII guy, or Parasite Eve and Vagrant Stories shared battle systems, as well as the former looking like some kind of test run for Final Fantasy VIII's model types, and the latter more or less being an FF12 concept pitch. It's all quite similar to the time when Capcom started making loads of games at once, all linked to RE4 in some way. Almost as if you're able to see the discarded ideas straight from the bin, the betas and early efforts from fledgling teams, and the primordial ideas that would give way to bigger things. Games that, by all accounts, shouldn't exist, but did because good times.
Also, Chocobo Racing has really horny moogles.
Written and directed by the writer and director of Parasite Eve and the co-writer and director for the fucking Bouncer, Chocobo Racing's story is on some profound shit. Some goddamn shit. That's some goddamn shit. I mean, it stars the titular bird as he gets pushed around by these fucking picture book bitches, forcing him on a big racing road trip because shut up, that's all you need. Presentation's cute though. Writing actually ain't half bad either, as it's very self-aware and comedic, cause the Moogle's trying to have the game's name changed to Mogo Boy Racing, and Sid narrates the whole damn thing like it's a show. And really, it just serves as a frame for all of this. Now, Square and fast action gameplay didn't have the greatest relationship at this point, be it their interesting but ultimately floaty fighters or the racing and snowboarding as seen in Final Fantasy VII, so confidence in all of this is not what I had, but it's actually not all that bad. Like, pretty decent even. It's very blatantly inspired by Mario Kart, you see, being that it's rather slidey, drifty, and that the tracks are quite wide and nothing too crazy. It handles well enough for what it is as well, albeit a bit intentionally stiff. See, you essentially click in and out of drift mode. You don't really feel the swerve or weight of your vehicle at all. You just push button and drift, which creates this really soapboxy feel in combination with how loosey-goosey the steering is. But the sense of speed is handled well, and even a bad drift is still a drift, and the drift is always fun. Besides, I'd be lying if I said that the dumbest fuck slip and slide shit wasn't enjoyable in that taming a loose cannon at high speeds while wearing a suit made out of condoms sort of way. Thing is that because the drifting is so instant, it's rather easy to do minor button-tap drift corrections, which is where the intentional part of the intentional stiffness comes into play, because many of the tracks go proper hog bonkers with the rapid sharp turns, making the corrections a very essential addition to your arsenal. It's kind of a neat twist on what a drift can be, honestly. And by far the biggest compliment I can give it on this front as well is that the control scheme is set up perfectly for exactly this. In that you accelerate with square rather than X, as X is the drift button, meaning that you can always hold down the acceleration as you drift with the lower part of your thumb, thus not having to let go of neither to do either. What's also neat is that the items take quite a few cues from how magic works in the actual main games. Haste, Barrier, Reflect, Mini, Ultima, it's all there. Characters will have some special skills too, like Chocobo can dash, Moogle can float, letting him cross otherwise down-slowing terrain, and the Goblin Child can snatch items, but the normal pickups will contain shit like fire, which can increase in velocities the more you pick up, a la Fira and Firaga, and the same goes for the other elementals too, only they won't all be standard projectiles like how fire be. Blizzard, for instance, puts down a slippery sheet of ice. Thunder is one of those attacks that can hit anyone at any point on the track. Mini makes people small, slower, and run overable depending on how small. Reflect deflects, and Ultima causes everyone to spin the fuck out. All in all, it's a very basic collection of items similar to what Mario Kart or CTR or, well, really any kart racer would use, but it being tied into the Final Fantasy lore shit and being power-uppable makes it neater than it easily could have been. In a way, the game both sets everyone apart through its stats and special abilities while also leveling out the playing field by letting you acquire and equip said abilities and also the magic pickups. And when I think of kart racers, fair play is most definitely the first thing that comes to mind. As is shown here by me being in first place for the entire race only to get iced on out of nowhere right before the final fucking finish. I should probably state right now that I have close to zero tolerance for RNG garbage in kart racers taken away from the actual race, which I will most certainly complain about more later on. Though I do appreciate how the story mode handles it here, in that it introduces all characters, skills, and items one by one, thus starting off pretty chill, letting you get the grips with the basics proper, only to turn it into complete apeshit in the end. This does mean that the regular races that have shit unlocked pretty much wholly dunk on the idea of skillful driving due to the total chaos, especially on the more complicated tracks, but honestly, that in of itself is pretty fun to fuck with. Maybe spells like Ultima are a bit too OP in that blue shell sort of way, and maybe they shouldn't have gone full RNG. Maybe the Mario Kart style of only those who are far behind can get it would have been a better choice, but again, this just levels out the playing field. Even if it does that by way of a fucking carpet bombing. Either way though, this is honestly not all that bad of a kart racer. Pretty alright, actually, and I like how the stages and their themes are old FF staples, and the road tripping fun buddy picture book story is cute as fuck. Like, you straight up go to a spooky mansion and fucking Mysidia from Final Fantasy IV, and hey, even the gameplay is almost good. It's a pretty decent start to our kart racing adventure, I'd say. So, kart racers as a whole can be pretty strange, right? Like the Star Wars one where you play as Red Man with the big head, or fucking Garfield Kart, or the rather experimental Kirby's Air Ride. It's kinda like a party game genre, but then it's also like a racing game genre, and at their core I think they don't even really work all that well either because of the before mentioned RNG and the skill still needed to race good. And that's not even getting into how most of these shits are just licensed games, which means that they'll often be about as well balanced as a Wii balance board. But at the same time, where else you gonna find horny moogles trying to corrupt your game by gathering crystals? Hence why I think the late 90s and early 2000s output of the genre is most interesting. Even though currently we're probably seeing the better releases. Cause, I mean, in the time between then and now, things got a bit too shovelware-y, and here the genre was still relatively new, thus allowing for more experimentation, foregoing easily copy-pastable blueprints for cash grabs. This be the era that gave us Diddy Kong Dingus and Crash Team Bingus, both of which are still considered to be the peak of the genre by many to this day. Or said really experimental Kirby game, or a Mega Man kart racer released only in Japan and Europe that has like RPG elements or some shit. Or fucking Wipeout, man. Aside from this being largely responsible for the easily distilled Y2K aesthetic we know and love today, and being sort of a big deal cultural impact sort of thing in many a European country given that its soundtracks perfectly aligned with the underground and club musics of the time, it is also very definitely a kart racer. I mean, yeah, these ain't no karts, but A, fuck your limitations, and B, you got these wacky, swervy 3-lap tracks, boost pads, items to fuck up your homies with, Grand Prix CC looking ass campaigns, and arcadey as fuck handling. On a mechanical level, it is a kart racer through and through. It's just wearing the skin of something much cooler. It uses weights rather than drifts as well, being that you can kinda shift the dunk in your trunk around to make sharper turns, which is a neat-ass spin on what Mario Kart do, and just overall it's a great-ass example of what the kart racing genre can be if you set your mind to open. And then there's Sonic R. You know you have to survive, got to keep the dream alive. Where everything is free, can't you see? God damn! This game is fucking beast mode. Fuck! I love it. Like, it's a goddamn piece of awkward shit with weird-ass physics and level design that hurts my brain trying to process it, but fuck man, this goddamn OST! This is on Daytona tier. Fucking I'd slay at this on karaoke tier. Fuck! Part 2, Revenge of the Dub Delay. Also, not technically a kart racer. Given what I'd said just now, you'd be right to think that I don't give a shit, which I don't, because it is a kart racer, just one without karts. Real issue though is actually playing it. The PC version is kind of an asshole to get going, even with a vibrant as fuck modding scene, getting it up and running, and Metnafen just gives me error messages and also has an ugly ass name, so my hands are tied and my dick flaccid. I was eventually able to get it going by emulating the GameCube release of the Sonic Gems collection, but by the time I found that out, I had already written what I just wrote, so we too far gone now. But hey, the upside to all of this is that Sonic birthed a bunch of other kart races from his gaping hedge hole. There's the actual kart racers for the Game Gear that seem really neat and cute, or the aforementioned really good modern ones that I ain't touching, cause boy, there's this other Sonic kart racing game that has cutscenes going full Sonic Adventure 2 mode, and you know I loves me some Sonic Adventure 2 mode.
What? I'm making fucking mac and cheese, and nobody can stop!
So Eggnog Nick pops up on a telly all like, "Race to win the Chaos Emeralds!" And Sonic is all like, "I'm going to kill my newborn!" And then they race using fast as fuck snowboardy things and mechanics up the ass. It has things one might see in snowboarding games as well, like needing to preempt jumps by essentially charging your knees, I guess, or needing to balance a lot, or trying to land feet first, shit like that. You can kinda skid drift as well, which is neat, catch draft / slipstream, and you can even get tricky and best of all, fill your built-upable boost meter and unleash boost with a boost button, ending up with those super satisfying moments in which you skid towards the sharpest turn ever, only to then hit the boost on your way out, torpedoing headfirst into the nearest jump, landing it perfectly into a slip draft. Being never not fast, in essence. It's pretty darn great, honestly. I mean, sure, it has a pretty high, oh no, oh fuck, what am I doing, where am I going vibes, but so does literally every Sonic game ever, including the ones that normies fuck with, so this is just nailing that Sonic sense of speed pretty goddamn well. This is Sonic doing what he is meant to do, marketing a console towards impressionable children. Hey, tell your parents to go and buy me. Steal their credit card. I'll be your best friend. But yeah, the cutscenes. They're very Sonic Adventure 2 in that they try to be funny but fail, but also try to be serious and fail and are therefore funny. You get to see Tails go full sicko mode after being bullied, and you also see Knuckles go full sicko mode, and Sonic, because these bird people are the bad and antagonize them by way of bullying, that's also really all there is. Much like Chocobo Racing, it is not but an interesting frame for an interesting game. A pretty fun one in this case. Assuming you're into a genuine bit of heartfelt memeing on your boy Sonic at least. Also, the game's aesthetic is quite nice. It's a bit like Wipeout by way of Sonic, and also Babylon Garden is a cool-ass name for a cool-ass stage with some Eastern-ass Byzantine, Persian, McSlavic looking influences. I fucking dig it. Sadly, I do think the game might have a bit too much going on. You see, there's a lot of subtleties to the many ways you can twist and turn yourself and board, and certain shits like rail grinding also require very specific alignments. Which is all fine on its own, but when you also have the slipstreams going, and the drift gauge to monitor, and the weird combat encounter moments I've yet to fully figure out, and the game also ripping control away or making one twist stick when cool shit happens, or shit like needing to press the jump button upon landing to catch a free boost, all at breakneck speeds, not to mention the tracks themselves also being hella cluttered, it can be a bit tricky to get to grips with what exactly is going on or what's generally expected from you. Granted, I do think that there's a lot to master here. Those moments I mentioned earlier where you successfully chain cool shits quickly as you keep building speed are really quite special, so mastering that properly can't be anything other than mad satisfying. Thing is, too, is that the tricky tricks and coin pickups refill your bar as well, which, aside from your speed boost, which is also used to attack people when up close, is also used to do the drift skitching, which you need to go through certain turns properly. And once that bar is left empty, you'll be left as a hog ducking it up dead on dry land. You can, of course, pick up some shit or go to a pit stop provided one's nearby, but generally it's safe to say that once this happened, you will be sucked. And so, it is a game about balancing your drift and boost and doing tricks as much as possible by getting air, which means timing jumps, the charging of which also drains bar, and desperately trying to not run out by overindulging your speeding efforts. It is a lot to manage, especially when you consider that it's not only a game about that, but also a game about finding like hundreds of shortcuts and side routes in the brazy-ass complicated tracks in which you try not to fall into the death pits because Sonic, and also about dealing with your enemies, keeping them at bay, or letting them overtake you on purpose so you can hitch a ride, thus not spending too much bar in certain turns because of the sketching, or attacking them at the right time so that they don't finish before you do. It's, again, it might be a bit too complicated. It's all good shit, great shit even, but god damn is this game rough and tough and hard to figure out as a result. So I think it's safe to say that Sonic Riders may have set its mind a bit too far open. It might bear some similarities to Wipeout, but as intuitively simple in its complexity, it sure as shit is not. Also bearing some similarities to Wipeout is the equally complexly simplistic game that inspired it, F-Zero, which I think purely on the basis of it not possessing any combative properties disqualifies it from being a kart racer, but a bridge it shall be. For it, you see, has an entry on the GBA. Not really the system one would think of in regards to fast-paced action, but I mean, F-Zero started on the SNES, which is basically the same console, and so did Mario Kart, which also showed up on the titular handheld, as did the bastard child port of Lego Racers 2 that has like overworlds and stuff, and is really quite indicative of the state of GBA kart racers as a whole, to be honest. But hey, Crash Nitro Kart had a port on there too, which has some really powerful writing.
Ah yes, it is another relaxing day at the Bandicoot house. Crash is sleeping as usual. Snorre, snorre. Crunch and Aku Aku are discussing the latest diet fads. That diet is a joke. Well, I heard you can lose a lot of weight on it. Just eat less and exercise more. When all of a sudden a light appears out of nowhere and engulfs the room. Something's wrong. That is not sunlight. A mysterious force then lifts the house away into the sky.
Wow, this is... man... Isn't this what the Game Awards were invented for? Far more interesting to me though is the almost entirely forgotten maybe gem called Konami Crazy Racers, starring Goemon from Goemon, starring Goemon, and Grey Fox from Metal Gear, and Dracula from Castlevania, and a Moai head from Gradius. Okay, come on. Konami has tons of iconic games, tons of iconic characters, so why the fuck did this get the D team? Snake? Any of the Belmonts? Pyramid Head? That would have been hilarious, but nah. Here's one of the ships from Twinbee, so shut up. Truth be told though, this game is actually pretty neat. It starts off with a PC-ass sequence where you get an email from Konami, man, and then you get hit with this goofy bullshit. At this point, the game really had to fuck up pretty fucking bad for me not to like it, to be honest. The entire thing has this PC interface aesthetic from which you can buy items to expand pickups during race. You can also get licenses here, which you unlock by beating cups, with which you can unlock more cups, and there's also the rumor board, where you can hear about the spicy new rumors that are really just wee little tutorials. Same way the licenses shit is just you unlocking the game linearly as you would, but framing it like this really gives it a lot of personality. The character select screen is great too, and overall shit's just really cute looking. For something that seemed to have all the trappings of a B game made by a C team with D tier characters, it seems to be on A level. Well, for a GBA kart racer anyway. Oh, and the actual racing is pretty good too. It's not deep, the tracks aren't anything standout given how flat they all have to be by necessity, and you can't really do anything mad crazy, but there is jumpy drifting a la CTR, and you can actually feel the traction of your kart on the tracks. Like, it's not so boxy, it's more grindy with some beefy sandy ass sound effects hitting each turn. It's generally pretty great. Also, unlike the Crash or Lego games, it legit runs well. The 30 FPS capture of this footage does not show how smooth this looks at all, and it also feels super fast as a result. Add to that a pretty decent layout of turns relating to the limited distance that allows you to actually see, which is a luxury neither of these two could really say they had. And you end up with a, I would have totally loved this had I owned this as a kid, thus being able to spend way much more time on it than I'm willing to do now. Because, again, it has charm, it has great music, it has character, and shit tons of unlockables hidden underneath it. Hell, the coins for the store are just found around on map, and by bumping into people, which adds tons of incentive to race like a complete asshole. I fucking love it. And yeah, the game overall is just pretty great, especially considering the competition, because honestly, the GBA had quite a surprising amount of kart racers. One of the things I always do when I make these sorts of videos is googling my ass off to find literally anything worth discussing, which is how I found out about Konami Crazy Racers in the first place. Also, this pretty much gave me that whole "this genre is fucking stupid" idea as well. Like, there's a fucking My Sims kart racer for fuck's sake, and a goddamned Hello Kitty one, and a Bomberman one, because, you know, that's a series known for its large iconic cast. There's one for fucking M&M's too, and one for Angry Birds as well.
Fuck the free world! Fuck the free world!
And even a Digimon kart racer, because fuck you, we needed that.
Did somebody say Digimon? Did you know that my favorite Digimon is Beelzebub? Because he's got wings, and a motorcycle, and a gun arm, and he's really cool. Otherwise, I really like Garurumon because he's a wolf that turns into a werewolf. I don't like how he turns into a metal wolf unless you're going by like some of the other Digivolutions they developed later, like Crescent Garurumon or Crest Garurumon, depending on the translation, because Crest Garurumon is a werewolf with a sword and he's all armored up and really cool. And then there's Gundramon, he's a Digimon made of guns. How crazy is that? I absolutely love that. It's amazing. And then there's also Guardian Angemon, and that's just an Angemon with swords all over him. He's even got sword wings. That's pretty nuts. And then there's even a Kingdom Hearts Digimon.
You know, I kind of love this game. I like playing it is pretty tedious, being that it is just grinding the game, really. It mixes probably the worst aspects of Tamagotchi, seeing as everything just shits and dies, with the more egregious aspects of RPG, i.e. big grinding. But it has atmosphere for days, and I dig the edgy hip-hoppy design of the main pro tag and the weirdly artificial post-apocalyptic vibes of the world overall. Which is kind of why I fuck with Digiman in general, really. I'm not like a big fan at all, but the boy Dylan, aka Young Draco, aka my future podcast co-host, knows a lot about it, and he told me about this one Digimon that's like made out of guns, so I think it wins. As in, like, the battle between it and Pokemon, because I mean, that's what this is all about. The games tend to be a bit all over the place, sure, but at least it ain't the same goddamn shit every time, and we also are not afraid to go edgy on them. Now, I know that Nintendo's ability to skirt by any and all trends makes them sorta timeless, and cool is always temporary, hence why Sonic is kind of a laughingstock now. And you could say that Digimon is subject to the same shit and Pokemon isn't, but then you don't see Pokemon coming out with really stiff kart races on the GBA, now do you, motherfucker? Anyway, it's fine. Unlike the World games, it doesn't particularly tap into those techno-dystopian undertones that the series is known for outside of the menus, but it functions. Though, I guess it does have these circuit boardy land holes, which is thematic, and what they also do as well is allow you to digivolve so you can digi better, kinda adding levels to the item pickups and shit and speed boosts and what have you. Otherwise, it is what it is. Unlike Konami Crazy Racers, it ain't exactly smooth and the handling feels a bit slippery, though not in a wholly unsatisfying way. I suppose it just serves a fittingly generic, unnecessary, but surprisingly okay bookend to my foray into the genre. In conclusion, kart racers are pretty okay. Also a giant mess of a clusterfuck. Again, there's a lot of trash to be found here, a lot of cheap copies, a lot of experimentation that leads to games that feel like they have potential that isn't quite yet met. Like, god fucking damn, Sonic Riders is this close to being amazing. It has so much going on and such a great ass sense of speed and immediacy to your actions that it honestly has the groundwork for what could very well be the DMC of racing games, only, you know, it ain't because it's a kart racer. Something that I feel, as stated before, almost sort of doesn't work on its core principles. At least to me. I ain't here to hot take on y'all all. This thing you like is bad actually, because fuck off with that. Aside from Lego Racers 2 for the GBA, I enjoyed every game I've played for this video, even the ones just for B-roll footage. It's just that the whole like have party game, aka complete random hectic bullshit, and have racing game, aka skill-based masterable intentional time, don't work together as much as that they just kind of violently collide as if NASCAR. I guess if you look at them more like party games, then it might be fine, but even then, people meme about them ruining friendships, and I don't know if we should consider that a good thing per se. Also, many of these weren't multiplayer focused at all, what with their being on the PS1 or GBA and with that whole story modes thing. Not saying that Chocobo Racing couldn't be fun with friends, it sure as shit seems like it would be, but I don't think that my PC has a multi-tap hole anywhere, so I can't really attest to that. Again though, I had a lot of fun doing this, and at least now I can more confidently say that Crash Team Racing is fucking, or you know, pretty fucking great at least. Cause man, that Sonic Riders and Double Dash ain't nothing to sneeze at either.